to episode 17 of Have a Shift Day. I'm here with Jake and Megan, of course.
How we doing?
Good. And today we have a very special guest, someone who has known me, I should say, my whole life. And a great person, great athlete, and a two-time Stanley Cup champion, and skating coach Tracy Tutton. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
For joining.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure. Anything that I can do for Nikki. Oh my gosh, he's been a family friend for a long time, and even his own story is pretty cool. Everything he's been through to where he is today. I'm so proud of him, and I can't even understand kind of the things he's been through his whole life to get where he is today, and he's become such an amazing, amazing young man. So proud of him.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Might as well just get right into this. So, Tracy, obviously, you are a professional skating coach for several NHL teams, such as the Detroit Red Wings and, of course, mostly the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, it's just a great thing that you do, and aside that, not a lot of people really see a lot when they talk about, people
Behind the scenes stuff, yeah.
Yeah, behind the scenes stuff, not a lot of people get to see. So my first question here is just kind of, when did you first know you wanted to kind of do this role for NHL teams?
So it's a pretty interesting story. Like myself and my two best friends, Dawn Braid and Barb Underhill, we were figure skaters our entire life. And actually all three of us were pair skaters too. So when we started having children of our own, they all got into hockey. And between us, we just kept going on about how as a pair skater and a figure skater, you need to understand your body or pretty much going to die. If you get thrown and you spin 3 times in the air, you land on one foot and connect a bunch of footwork, and you've got 3 minutes to put down a flawless program. Your mind and your body has to be fully connected in order to, be able to compete at a high level. When we're watching hockey players move and maneuver in traffic and being able to get shots away with no space, and the hitting and the, everything that goes on in a hockey game, we're like, man, imagine if we could teach hockey players to skate better, to be more efficient, and even injury prevention for your body when you're moving properly, and your speed and explosive power, and learning how to glide well and be in a proper form and skating balance. So we would always get together and talk about it, just so passionate about our sport, but relaying it into a different sport, especially once our kids started getting into it. We started watching it more and really trying to figure out, oh my gosh, this is something that we would love to be able to take an athlete and see where it goes with it. And then Dawn she was the first one that got more heavily into it. And I was really, really at the time heavily in figure skating, at an international level. So, and my kids were very young. And so I was busy with how much on the road I always was with the kids, and then at home running my own business in figure skating. So Dawn was more heavily into it first. And then she started asking Barb and I, you should come and see what's going on with this. It's so exciting, and the advancements that she was making. We would always brainstorm on ways to teach and technique. And we did a lot of video analysis. We first started with a dartfish video program that broke down their stride and their movement patterns. And then we start really digging into technique. And then Dawn ended up getting the Leafs camp, and she asked Barb and I to come, but I couldn't. I was too involved in my figure skating, and Barb went with her to Leafs camp. And then the two of them started to really see that it was kind of at that time almost a missing link within the sport that we could really help with if we had players that would be buying into it. That was a big important factor at first, is that to know we're not going to be bag skating, we're not going to be just conditioning skating. We're going to be teaching form and technique for injury prevention, to lengthen your career, because as older hockey players get rolling, their bodies wear down. And it became really important to us. We were very, very passionate about it. And then little by little, I think Dawn was with the Leafs and Barb was with the Leafs, and then Dawn went to the Anaheim Ducks camp, and I went with her. And then as my kids got older and got into their own university sports, and they didn't need me as much to be totally there for them other than just watching their games, I had said I could get further into it. So I was willing to invest more time, quit figure skating, and really dive into the hockey world. So at that time, lucky for me, Steve Yzerman was the first one who asked if I would take on a contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning with him, like under his general manager at that time. And I'm like, of course. Barb was already there, and I'd already been doing a lot of work for Tampa, like for years, just more on a consulting basis of whenever I could go, I would go. Like I always went to development camp. I would take care of a lot of their prospects in different areas whenever I could fit the time in. But then I decided I was going to get heavier into it. So that was my first contract, like more of a contract. Like I said, I'd been doing this already for 10 years, but not as heavily. And then and the other one was my Colorado Avalanche, was actually before my contract with Tampa. Adam Foote, who lives in Whitby, he was always asking me about it for the Colorado Avalanche because he was at that time involved in player development, him and Dave Oliver, and they both got me to come to Colorado. So Colorado was actually my very first contract. I was with them for 6 years. And then Tampa Bay, I took on that contract after I got kind of, 4 years into being with Colorado. I took on the Tampa Bay contract as well. And then when Steve Yzerman moved over to Detroit, I left Colorado to go to Detroit with Steve with the Red Wings as well. So it's kind of an interesting kind of a background with friendships as childhood friends that were figure skaters that learned to love hockey. And then the more we dove into it and watched games and learned, which was another one of your questions, Nick. Yes, we have learned a lot from players. It's very, very interesting how it's evolved.
Yeah, you mentioned like getting the players to dive in or buy into what you're trying to do. Like, was that difficult at first? Because like they're kind of like creatures of habit.
Not really, because in the approach, like some of it's in the approach. Like we never forced ourselves on anyone. It was always about letting them watch and learn first, and ask questions and trust us. We had to earn their trust, is what it was. And it was not difficult because we're very confident in what I do. Like as far as I don't have any qualms. Like I don't guess myself because I know for a fact that this is going to work. I've used it, all these mechanics and detail work in figure skating, and applying it to hockey and skating. It was just a different stance. Like they don't stand upright, they don't have their arms out, they don't, but they have to learn how to move. It's not only about strength now, like being strong and powerful. It's also about being able to move and control your body and your edges and your tight turns, your stops, your starts, your like all these different skating moves. You can't only be big and powerful, or you're going to be more like a big brick house. Like you can't turn and move and weave in traffic if you're too stuck. You have to be able to move as well. So once we explained to them, and they kind of little by little would realize, like, wow, this is something I haven't done yet. And even to this day, within the NHL, there's players that we meet, and I would go, do you want to jump into a skating session, or do you want to try this? And they would do it and go, holy crap, why wasn't I doing this my whole life? Like this is making such a difference in one session. But in order to train a habit, you need to train reps after reps after reps, like thousands of reps, in order to train that to become. You can't think about your skating in a game. You're going to be thinking about 1,000 different other things, and you're going to have pressure. So you need to rely on your body to take over and to move the way it should, and to be able to be powerful, strong, and what do you call it? I guess agile at the same time. And they bought into it as soon as they would talk to us, and we'd show video. I would more like sit down with them even off the ice and say, I'm going to show you what I'd like to do. And I would have video of their game footage, and I would show them things that they could have done differently, or that they could have, beat a guy, and they would be like, "Wow, like teach it to me, like let's go." Like it was like an open book by that point. Nobody wanted to not do it. I don't think there's anybody I can think of off the top of my head that once they talked to me and understood what I was going to do, and that it wasn't going to be anything harmful to their bodies. Like even in season, like you go, oh my God, people are like, you're sitting there at the NHL playoffs, and are guys like afraid to work with you during playoffs or during season? And it's like, well, no, because sometimes it's not about doing like an hour session. It's about doing a 20-minute tune-up, reminders, focus points, feeling on top of your feet, and feeling that your skating is going to automatically relay to, warming up before a practice, or warming up before a game, and teaching good habits. So it is interesting. I think back in the day, in the old back way, when maybe hockey players didn't have that open mind of, that it might have been a little harder, but I have never had one player that didn't, buy in or want to learn.
So whenever you are attending these practices, game day, morning skates, and even if you're attending games, what does a day in your life look like whenever?
Well, sometimes like you get there early, and I would be like just around for the guys, asking them, well, more about their life, their day, and getting to know them and building relationships. And, they would come usually like off the ice first to say, you think we could get a 20-minute tune-up in? Or like, there's not that often that there's a list of mandatory skaters. Like, I guess sometimes if someone's struggling with their skating in a game, like the coach would say, I really want you to get in, do some work with, Tracy while she's in town. And then my son Brody also works with me. So between the two of us, we would make sure that everybody was taken care of. Sometimes it would be a private lesson, like a one-on-one private lesson. And other times it would be a group of like 4 guys that were just running patterns and running, movements and edge exercises, and helping them warm up to get feeling like they can like spring into action immediately, instead of taking like 5 shifts to feel warmed up, sort of thing. And then once we would do our skating session or whatever, then they would go to practice, and we would watch practice, and then be available again after practice for guys who might again want to do a bit more work, detail work, or reps, or just reminders and focus points. And then we have lunch with them and show video, like a lot of times, and I video them pretty much every session. I'm videoing consistently while I'm doing the session, so that afterwards I can pull them aside and say, let's go through your reps, and let's just talk about your form, your technique, your patterns, your movement, like, and then where you would use it in a game. And maybe I'd be finding game clips of theirs to tie in with the reps that they'd kind of already just done. And many times I would put together a clip of their reps, and then a possible pretty cool game situation that came alongside having a really solid foundation of skating.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned like you've learned a lot from these like NHL players, but like, is there one thing that really like stands out to you that you've learned?
Not in particular one thing, but it's evolved as of, like, for example, when we first started, I would come up with a plan, and this is my practice plan, and this is what I'm going to work on, this is what I'm going to teach. And then when I'd have specific players, like some guys are really powerful in a straight line, but they don't weave or move or feel like they can use their edges well. Or if they stop on a dime and try to change direction, they'd be on their asses. They'd be like, blowing a tire. So each guy was different. So I have to talk to them. I have to watch them play. I have to have sessions with them to learn how to teach each guy. And when there were specifics, they could start communicating with me on how they felt. Like sometimes it would be like, I feel like it's I'm getting shot to the back of my blade. Like every time I try to take off really fast, it shoots me to my heel for a split second, and then I lose a step. So then we sometimes even like look into their sharpening, their profiles, their skates that they're wearing, different factors that might help even make the skating that much better for them, sort of thing. So learning about the player at the time. Sometimes there's guys who possibly are dealing with outside stresses or outside things that, one day they're just not with it, and they're going through the reps, and I can tell they're distracted or something's up. So I, talk about it with them and try and get them through to, being able to perform well. And I mean, they're all professionals, so they're all so dialed in as far as, as soon as they step on the ice, they're in practice mode, sort of thing. But like each guy, not anybody specific, but each player has been very good at being able to communicate with me on what they're feeling like when they're doing solid reps of something that involving speed, explosive power, or edges and tight turns. And I guess I do probably have one, Dylan Larkin.
Oh,
Dylan
fast,
would be
he's a fast
Dylan
skater.
would be, pardon me?
Fast skater.
Great skater.
Yes, great, and he always has been. So here's a really cool story about Dylan and him and his professional mindset. So when we first got to Detroit, like, he was never like on the list of mandatory skaters. He's a good skater, but he always would come up and be like, "I'm not on the list." Like, and it's like, well, you're allowed to be on the list. Like, we can give you as much time as you want, like privately, semi-private, group, like whatever you want. We're available to you at any time, because every time I want to be on the list. So like every time we were in there, Dylan was out there doing the extra, and learning. And believe it or not, there was a ton of stuff that he became a lot better with. Like over 3 years of kind of working with him, I was shocked. I'm like, wow, like, how can you, watching him skate when I first met him was like, he's a good skater. He moves well, he's fast, he's strong, he's got good edges. He had a great overall package of skating. And yet within his game, he could communicate with me on what he didn't feel great with and what he wanted to improve upon. And he would even send game clips of him doing certain things in a game where he's like, I need you to give me some patterns to beat this guy. And then I need you to help me with, tight turns or stops and starts, because I keep losing an edge and falling or toe picking or whatever. So he was a guy who really helped me help him, like just simply by the fact that his ceiling was so huge on what a professional he is and how much he wanted to learn, and that he never felt he was good enough. He always wanted to raise the bar every year, raise the bar, and he has. And I mean, I'm so thrilled, like honored to have been able to be his skating coach for all that time, because that was such a fun, exciting, rewarding kind of component for myself and Brody, because and even when during COVID, when we couldn't get ice, or maybe we couldn't get together for a stint because they would shut things down, he would want to do Zoom calls, and he would want to work on video. Can you just do a Zoom call with me? And we'd pull up all of his clips and reminding him of stuff that he could do on his own. The other thing during COVID that we did that was huge was Mars Blades in Europe. Pear Mars, who owns Mars Blades, they have rollers and they have blades for the ice. He set all of our players up with rollers, so that whenever we couldn't get ice, Brody and I would go to a tennis court or a basketball court, and I would like video Brody running sets of reps with a stick and his gloves and whatever. And then like Emily Arena, I think, shut down the parking lot for the guys, and they would do sets of reps in the parking lot. And there was so many cool factors throughout COVID that helped us kind of get in tune with how we could actually further teach players, even when, things were rough. Like, it was really tough during COVID to kind of come up with great plans, but we did.
I mean, that's just awesome. I really like how, like, even during COVID, you were still able to, like, kind of find a way around it and still be able to work on them. I think that's, like, really cool.
Well, that's
Um,
part of, like, I find in business, and you guys are probably going to find the same as you're growing your business, is you have to figure it out. Like, if things aren't simple, there's got to be a way. Like, and if you're creative and you're passionate about your job, you will find a way to make it work. And that, to me, even though COVID was an awful time for everybody, and it was like, oh my gosh, we got tested every day, like the thing shoved up in your brain. And it was like, what? Like, you couldn't go around anybody. We had to teach with a mask on, and there were spies everywhere watching that your mask did not come down. So it was a really difficult time. And even crossing the border, like, because I'm Canadian, so I had to get letters from, like, all the general managers, for the team would write a letter to say, we need them for, like, they're essential worker to our business. So when we crossed the border, there was nobody crossing the border, but we figured it out. We brainstormed on, is there something we can do to, still get over there to work with the players. And it was a tough time, but it was a really exciting time. And whenever we traveled too, we would have to quarantine for 3 days. So the team would have to pay for 3 days of hotel plus our travel expenses, and there was no flying, so we had to drive everywhere. And we would drive, and then they would pay for 3 days of expenses for us to sit in our hotel room, and we weren't allowed out. We'd have to order Uber Eats. They would knock on the door, we would grab our food and bring it in, and we'd sit there alone for 3 days. And I remember taking those rubber tensor bandages from physio. I would tie them around all the bedposts and stuff, and every time I'd walk by, I'd do like 20 pulls and 20 of these, and then I do my arms, because there was no gyms open, and I'm like trying to kind of stay in shape to be skating. And even like going for a walk outside, like sometimes you weren't allowed to go for a walk, you had to stay in your room. And so the whole COVID process was a very interesting one to work around. While we were in our room, we'd have to FaceTime and do our own testing as well.
That's crazy.
That is very fascinating. Next
So
question.
we made it work.
I mean, yeah, it definitely does. I mean, whatever you had to do, right?
Everyone's got to be all in to win too.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It
Absolutely.
definitely helped. I mean,
Yeah.
Tampa
Yeah, like I don't
took
know
up,
what
so.
the other teams were doing, because I'm not involved with the other teams, but I know Tampa and then Detroit both, we figured it out. We'd get on a call together and we'd brainstorm on, what can we do for these players. And that was when I thought, I'm going to call Pierre Mars about the Mars rollers. I'm going to get Brody and I, because we both lived side by side. Brody just lived down the street from me. We got the rollerblades on. The two of us would go alone to a tennis court, and we would run the reps of, and the reason why we picked Mars blades was because we tried on tons of different rollers, and they were the ones that felt the most like hockey skates. Like, they would send us rollers for the guys to take their blades off and put them on their own hockey boot. So they would send us just the whole blade package. And then you could tweak the roller so that you could get on the balls of your feet better. Like, it had this mechanism within it that moves to get you in the balls of your feet. So when you were on them, it felt most like hockey skates than any other roller. So, and then they outfitted, we would send them, we'd text the guys, you want to do this? And yes or no. And anybody who did, they would send them the rollers, and they made a huge, and even with our, like our OHL players, our WHL players, or Quebec Hockey League players, like all the guys who worked with us, they gave them like a 50% discount or maybe even more on the rollers during that time as well, so that we could keep them going as they were like entering their draft and stuff like that.
Well, that is definitely awesome. Moving on here, to the next question. You mentioned Dylan Larkin. Was there anyone else who, like, when you, as soon as you started working with them, you were just like, wow, this guy's good. Just like wowed you instantly.
And he's the first one that pops to my mind, Connor Bedard. With Connor, back when he was 12 years old, his agency called me and said, I'm going to fly a player in. And because I do help a lot of the player agencies with their prospects. I go, oh, okay. And I'm thinking it's going to be like a guy going into his NHL draft. And he's like, well, he's very young, so I'm going to fly his parents in, and I'm going to put him up in a hotel, and I'd like you to get ice every day while he's here. And so ice alone is usually $300 an hour, and they were going to pay it. And then they're going to pay me or Brody or both of us to work with them. Private lessons and group lessons, whatever I thought he needed, plus video analysis, the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm like, okay. And I get his birth year. And I'm like, oh my God, the guy, he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, he's 12 years old. And I go, okay, that's young, isn't it? Is that, are you sure? And he goes, oh yeah, when you meet him and you skate him, you'll understand.
Yeah.
And I go, okay.
I'm sure you do.
So he comes in and he's just like a baby. He's like, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, and he's a cute little kid, a little bit shy. And then we start working on stuff. And some of the stuff at the time he wasn't good at. And he was like, man, like you could tell he's like angry with himself. And then he would like want to know, like understand it. And he would want to into information, like science information, like biomechanics. And I'd sit and I'd do video analysis off the ice to show him all the stride components and different things. And then we'd work on patterns, and then we'd work on, shooting off these patterns. And so within that timing, we were like, the next day he would come back, like after one day, he'd come back, and everything we'd done, he would sit with his notes and he would go through it. And then we gave him off ice stuff to do that ties in with the on ice. And it was like, holy crap. He couldn't do it yesterday, but he could do it today.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, wow. But now we would say to him, now it's going to be a matter of training patterns. So this is really exciting to us to go, oh my God, this guy's like, he's like, got it. Like he can learn it, practice it, do it. But then if you left it for months, of course, and never did it again, it would take that time to reteach it and remind and do it again. So then he gets home, and then he would like shoot me a text. Can we get on a Zoom call and, go through my patterns? And I'm like, yeah, like, wow, this guy's very self-sufficient. It's all about, no one's telling him to do that. He's doing it himself. And then every once in a while, I would come up with a set of patterns, and I would set up a Dropbox. So now he's got like a lot of, weekly, daily patterns to run through. And then he would set up his phone on a boards, and he would videotape himself doing stuff, and then he'd send it back to me. Or his agent would sometimes be watching his games and send me a game clip and go, can you believe this? Like, this is like ridiculous. Like the pattern matches the game and the goal. Like the exact like set of sequences and footwork and whatever that he did would match what happened in the game. So yes, if like to answer your question, those are far and few between. Like a lot of times it takes a lot of teaching to, but at a very young age, he got it. Like his mom had said in an interview once before, I think, saying that when they were young, they tried to go on a family vacation and take him along when he was like 11 or 12. And the only way he was going is if he could take his stick and gloves. Like there was no way he was leaving. Did you hear about that one?
Yeah.
That is 100% what would happen. Like even on last year on Mother's Day, or was it last? Yeah, because it would have been just before the draft. So he's going to his draft in June, July. When is the draft? Yeah. Anyway, May, Mother's Day, and I'm having my Mother's Day at the cottage with the kids and family. And then at the time, he wasn't in World Juniors because I guess, I don't know, maybe they were just not allowing him to do it before the draft in case he got hurt. And I knew that it would just kill him. So he's, probably watching games and getting all ramped up that he's not playing. So I get in the shower at night, I'm getting ready for bed. So now it's like 10:30 at night, and I get a text, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, can we get on a video call? And I'm like, okay. So I pull up my video, and there we go through all of his reps, and I go, this is killing you that you're not playing right now, and you're just trying to figure out how can I do something hockey related, like.
Oh my goodness.
So it seems like since day one, like he's always been hungry to like succeed, and you started working with him at age of 12. Like, did you like know like right away like this kid's special?
Yeah, Yeah, like I didn't have any idea how far, that he's going to be first overall, blah, blah, blah. I guessed that most likely something phenomenal. But for him, like, to never, ever stop being that guy, like, it's just crazy. Like, I went to Regina to skate him in January of last year, and I was there for a week, and he got ice. He got it booked himself. He did an hour ice at one time of the day and then an hour later in the afternoon, sort of thing, after practice. But what would happen when we'd get on the ice, and if Zamboni didn't kick us off, there's zero chance he's getting off the ice. So we would be out there for an hour, and then we'd keep going and going and going, and then all of a sudden I'm like, he would be, the next day he was supposed to fly to from Regina to Vancouver for the what is it called? The it's like a prospects all-star thing.
Prospects game.
Yeah, and I'm like, Connor, you're leaving like early in the morning, like 3 hours has gone by now. They're gonna kill me if you are gonna have a bad game. I don't want to be responsible for doing too much the day before. Oh, that didn't happen. He was like, never getting off. He got off eventually when the Zamboni guy comes honking his horn. But then watching him play games like right after was like, it just fired him up to do all that work. It didn't tire him out. Like,
yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
That is awesome.
And I know Nick actually like a player that's body, but like obviously like you worked with the Lightning. I'm like interested with like Nikita Kucherov. Like he's obviously like not like the strongest or like the fastest at skating, but like he's so agile and mobile, and he creates space. Like how does he work with him?
I don't work with Nikita personally as much because he has I don't know if it's Adam Oates or somebody who does skills and skating with him in his off season. And he does do stuff like with the team, like reps and stuff, but I've not had one-on-one. So I mean, to me, when I look at him and all the different players, like, I think what you're asking here is sometimes guys might not be as fast, but they have other things that are so great about them within their game. Like, and many times, like, guys who I do privates with that maybe aren't as fast as somebody else, they're still going to work on it. They want to work on their speed consistently. They're never going to be satisfied with their speed. But they may not ever become as fast as McDavid or as fast as McKinnon. Like, those two guys have this outstanding ability to be a combination of like speed and power, and then there's other guys who have a different style within their game, that they're still fast, but they might not be quite as fast. So it's not only about speed, it's about being able to use your edges and create space, and being able to have decelerate within acceleration, like accelerate, decelerate, and reaccelerate. Like, those are some of the things that we would always try to tie in with players that maybe aren't as fast as the other guy, but we can add other aspects to their style and never stop working on speed. We always work on speed.
Yeah, it's really interesting to like learn this aspect of hockey. Like, I'm not used to it. Like, so it's really cool to like hear your knowledge from it. But
yeah, it's something probably, like you said at the beginning, that's it's not exposed as much, and not all teams have skating coaches, and I think they all are starting to now, because I do think probably the first teams that I worked with were like Colorado and Tampa, and obviously Detroit, but everybody who has kind of seen where they came from and built to, like, both of those teams when I first started with them were probably in last place, getting first round overall picks and stuff like that, like having that draw for the first overall pick. And it took a lot of building, but it wasn't obviously just me or any of the skating coaches and skills coaches. There's a lot of specialists within the team that contribute. It's like if you go to a doctor and you're going to your family doctor, but you really need to have something done that's specialized, they're going to send you to specialists. So within every organization now, they're bringing in specialists in each aspect of the game, which is why those teams are able to make the leap.
Hmm. So like working with like these marquee franchises like the Avalanche, the Lightning, the Red Wings, like do you ever feel the pressure for yourself to like help the players succeed on the ice?
Yeah, but I feel my person is better under pressure. Like I love pressure. That's how I
Yeah.
work with it. So I'm not, doesn't freak me out pressure. It excites me. I love it when they send me a bad skater. I love it when I have a guy who maybe is good but doesn't realize how good he is, and then I can make him even better. I love it when there's guys who are struggling in a game, but not that I love that they're struggling, but that I can actually figure out how to help them. So that pressure doesn't scare me as much as make me better. Like to the point where sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night and start looking through videos and taking note because it just I feel so passionate about um, that pressure that you feel when you go to bed at night and then you want to actually figure out how am I going to make this work. Kind of same idea I just talked about with COVID, like that. Oh my gosh, our job is done now. Like, are we going to be able to do anything? It's like, oh, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do
Yeah.
this.
Always striving for more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you like working with bad skaters, I mean, I'll definitely give you I'll
Not
definitely
that I
give
like it as much
three.
as working with good skaters. It's way more fun working with guys who are already good because it makes you look really good easy. But it's intriguing and it's rewarding when you have someone who's not that great who becomes great. That's really rewarding.
I might need to take a few lessons. Not gonna
I
lie.
think we all need a few lessons.
I think we all need a
I
few
think
lessons.
we can all use a few lessons.
I'm a little better than them. I played hockey for a few years, so
Oh, nice. Oh, that's awesome.
so
Where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. So are you all from Pittsburgh?
I'm from Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm a Pens
are you a
I'm a Pens
Blackhawks?
fan.
I'm a Pens fan.
You're still a Pens fan, okay, even
Yeah.
though you're from Chicago.
Yeah.
His sports
Yeah.
alliances don't make sense.
They don't. They honestly don't.
Yeah, I'm a Yankees fan, Raiders fan. Like I'm all over the map, but I did.
I did
find
find
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So with the Pens, my goodness, I remember Nikki going, "Oh yeah, they're making playoffs, and Nikki, your mom and I, when she was here visiting, would go, "Holy, he is diehard! Like they're not making playoffs; they're like way down there." And look at them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I never gave up believing.
Jake
Yeah,
never
he's been
gave up.
believing the whole time. We've been like, Jake, we're not sure, but
They've
yeah,
been making
they're close.
They've been making fun of me for believing, but here we are now at 2 points out.
Amazing, and you know what? That's something that makes a huge difference. Like the fans, the crowd, and I think Sidney Crosby has a great belief in his locker room too, and
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
he would,
for sure.
he would be like, no, we're still figuring this out. We're still figuring this out. And holy smokes. I'm like, now I'm getting nervous because I need Detroit to get that wild card spot. And I don't want them to, I want them to do good, but I don't know, like meaning your guys, but
Yeah, me and Nick we were watching the Pens Capitals game last night, and we're going crazy. You know, there's so much on the line at this point of the season, so it's fun though. It's fun.
I think that was huge for us in Detroit too, because that helped with our wild card spot that Washington didn't win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We're hoping you guys out too.
I'll make a deal. I'll make a deal with you.
Oh,
If
boy.
we can take the Pens can take the third in the Metro, and then you guys can have the last wild card spot.
Okay, that's a good deal.
All right, awesome.
I'm fine with that. I'm
Then the
fine with
Pens
that.
then the Caps and Flyers don't make the playoffs, and I'm happy. So
So, on the topic of Stanley Cup playoffs, obviously you already talked about like the off-ice stuff when it came to COVID in 2020, but what was it like the experience being around the Lightning for both of those cup runs, like throughout the playoffs? Like, were you on the ice with them a lot more than you would normally be during the regular season?
Oh, the first COVID round on 2020, I guess that would be, I was not physically there because the bubble was so small. So at that point, I think it was just the coaching staff and the players and maybe medical probably, and then the strength trainers, I think. I don't know 100%, but it was so tight that first year. And it was interesting when we were like, because we were still building off and on. We were allowed in and out and in and out depending on the rules. You know how they kept changing every once in a while. You're in, you're out. It was really weird because the fans were cardboard heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was creepy. You know, when I'm teaching and I'm looking back, I'm like, oh God, look at these guys over my shoulder like that. It was like so weird. But the second run, I was there for a month and a half, I guess, living at the hotel right across from Emily Arena, which was beautiful. And their rules, like their team rules, were still strict, like as far as being tested every day and you know, that kind of thing. However, the stands were still full, whereas in Canada, we weren't even allowed outside. And I remember flying. I had to drive to Detroit to get over the border because I couldn't fly from Toronto. So I drove to Detroit and I flew from Detroit to Tampa. And then I get off the airport. Of course, I've got my mask on. And we friggin' like PTSD about germs. And then I get off the plane and I'm looking around. Nobody's wearing a mask. And then I get to the hotel and everybody's piled in like sardines in the lobby and it's like full on fun. And I'm like, because Florida's rules at that stage had been really good. But I still had to be really careful because I'm going to be around the players. So I would still wear my mask and I would still try to stay away from too many people. And it was like the oddest feeling because you come from huge rules of, you know, you're not allowed to do nothing. And then you come from and you go into a stage that's now gotten more relaxed with the rules and things are a lot different. So that was a very interesting feel. However, again, like I said, because I was still around the players, I always wore my mask and I always tested every day. And I made a point of not being too around like general public. And then when we were in on the ice, most of my work at that stage, again, because the rules were still kind of strict-ish, most of my work would have been with the Black Aces. So every day I would skate the Black Aces. And anybody who would want to get a tune-up per se or whatever, but for the most part, it was about making sure we had people in place to take care of the Black Aces because they had to jump in and out of the lineup like whenever, right?
So obviously, what I'm getting out of this call, like the attention to detail is like insane with these guys. Like regularly zooming, communicating with them. But like, is it different like when the players are fighting like an injury or coming off an injury, like working with them?
Yes. So they'd be on return to play. So I would have the medical guy right in my back pocket. Like I wouldn't be doing anything crazy until he was most of the times the medical guy would be at the side of the boards with me. We'd be monitoring. They have, you know, heart rate monitors, etc. But they also are when they're on return to play, after we would do, say, 5 minutes, I'd come back over to the boards with the player and the medical guy. We'd talk about how you feel. You having any pain? What kind of pain is it? Is it just pain that is like excruciating, or is it pain that your muscles are actually working for you again? Like, so it's definitely different when you're on return to play. And then little by little, they get more and more. They can, and nowadays the technology with medical is so huge for these guys that they come back a lot quicker than you would ever expect with many players. And
Yeah.
during playoffs, like nobody even knows the amount of injuries that guys are battling while they're playing. Like there's a lot of guys, every team, that have to play somewhat injured and or come back earlier than they'd hoped or whatever, because it's a big important kind of a timing. But they never do anything that's going to hurt them long term. As far as, you know, they need to know that you're not going to play before you're ready if it's going to mean that next year you're going to be out for an entire year, you know.
Yeah, NHL's definitely got the toughest guys in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like what these guys play through is insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, as you mentioned earlier, you know, about Connor Bedard, 12 years old, um, is there, can you just kind of give us an inside look on, like, you know, other, like, young players, like, what you would do to, like, kind of get their skating toward, like, that NHL readiness?
Yeah. So in our hometown, especially, like we always try to take care of our local people, like when we're in the summer mode sort of thing. But it would have to work around our NHL schedules, and in the off season within the NHL, you're not allowed to work with your team guys per se. It would have to be them reaching out to you and hiring you separate sort of thing. So with the young players in the areas, we'd have more time in the off season to help them at home in the summer, and we would book ice, and they would contact us, and we would do, depending on what they could afford, because when you're doing private lessons, it's really tough because the ice costs are usually huge as well. And so sometimes we'd have small groups, and we'd have it where we put a group of small group of players together, and we do group sessions once a week. We do video analysis for them. We, work on their mechanics, and then they would have to themselves stick with it, like keep hiring you each week to kind of do a once a week session for however long they choose. And it's tougher in season for those guys because they're usually all over the place by that point, or we are. When we're in season, we're not home very often. But at one point, Brody and Chad, who both work with me, if they're at home, they would make sure that those guys were taken care of. And if I was at home, I would make sure those guys were taken care of, because now that both Brody and Chad are fully trained, that under everything that we'd want to do, we're all on the same page as far as that. So those players then would, after, say, if I was gone for a week and Brody was taking care of them or Chad was taking care of them, we would always regroup between us and say, okay, here's what I covered. This guy's struggling with this. Here's this guy's video analysis, and we would be able to kind of fine tune how we each took care of the session.
Yeah. So, like, being from Chicago, like, I grew up watching, Patty Kane, and now with Bedard coming into the league, he's going to fill that role and do his thing. But, like, for these smaller guys, like, do you spend more time on their, like, lateral movement in order to, like, create more space against some of the bigger NHL defensemen?
Sometimes it's not as much like size right now in the NHL. For it doesn't really matter like it used to. Obviously, those smaller guys, you don't want them to get hit and nailed too hard, because obviously they're going to get hurt more if they're not as huge. Bigger guys, like really big guys, are very tough to teach movement because they're so big. Like getting them to turn on a dime is tougher. Whereas the smaller guys, I don't know, I don't find that we don't teach speed as much as sometimes, depending on their body type and what they're doing in the gym with their strength, with their glutes and their upper legs are strong and they move well and they are taught proper stride mechanics, they can become just as fast. It's just not going to be like, for example, a big tall guy would take one stride compared to two of theirs, but it would be, as long as they're gliding well within it and they're getting power off that push off, they can still probably be very, very fast. So it's not that we would teach like lateral movement more than we would with someone else. It would be just more that we would, depending on the player, each player's got their own kind of personal strengths and weaknesses. We would kind of tune it to, not necessarily because of their size, but because of what that person's kind of makeup is, or their body type and whatever.
Yeah. Do you also work with them, like, with off-ice training and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah. So what we would do is and it's not that we personally are the off-ice trainer, we would just tie in with the off-ice trainers. Never are we teaching strength training. All I would do would be, I would go into talk about the stride mechanics with the off-ice people, and I would let them in on what we're doing on the ice. And there's off-ice patterns that we do mechanics-wise that would make a big difference for the player on the ice. If they're doing very good quality reps off ice and on ice, they're going to get the hang of it way faster. Now, I also got to double check that you're not going to be giving away all my secrets.
We got to help our pens out here too, though.
Yeah.
So I know you had mentioned that, like, when you do go to practices, you are communicating with the coach and what players you need to work with. But are you constantly communicating with the coach on a daily basis, even when you're not going to be with the team?
Not really. Like, we we communicate with them, but it's like we let everybody do their job, and they know what we do, and we know that, you know, for us to be bugging them consistently is not going to be helpful to anyone. So we would like get the okay from them, and possibly always ask, like, what do you think, should we, you know, or they might find something they specifically want us to be working on. But as far as day-to-day communications, we try to not be in their face, so that they can be getting, you know, if they've got a lot bigger things to worry about than just that, and we just make sure we're always doing our job, and as long as they trust us to be doing our job, then we're good. But we would tie in with them, and we would communicate with them, but not day to day.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
My next
My next
question here,
question here,
is there
is there
any
any
like
like
player in the
player in the
NHL
NHL
that you just
that
like you don't
like
get the
you don't
chance
get
to
the
work
chance
with,
to
but you
work
look
with,
at
but you
them
look
and
at
see
them
how
and see how
like watch
like
them
watch them
skate, and
skate,
you're
and
just
it's like,
like, man, I
man,
wish
I
I
wish
could
I
like
could like
work with
work
them.
with
I
them.
wish
I
I could
wish I
go
could
out
go
and
out
like
and like
be with
be
them
with
on the
them on the
ice. Like I
ice.
wish I
Like I
could
wish I
go
could go
like
like
help
And
help
learn
teach.
from them.
Is there anyone like in particular that you're just
McDavid, McKinnon, like those two guys are phenoms, like as far as they can skate and they can move and they can shoot, they can do a little bit of everything. And I don't know, like, what they do in the off season in order to come back every year better. Like, it's like, wow, like how could they have gotten better again? Because they were already so good. But I think that they all have their own, they're all pros, and they're all so driven that their summers would be definitely very, very packed full of doing a combination of everything to make sure the following year are even better than they were the year before.
Who do you think the fastest skater is that you ever worked with?
Probably Larkin. I don't know. I don't know 100% because I've never put anybody up in a race together. But when I watch him skate in a game, I don't ever see him not winning a race if he wants to. Like if his hockey sense tells him I got to be there first, then he would. If his hockey sense tells him I've got to slow it down in order to, you know, whatever, like his overall skating is very, very exciting.
Next, I just want to ask you this. I think I know the answer to this because I've talked to you a lot, but I do gotta ask, because these two don't know. Just what is the most fun thing in your entire like NHL skating coach career that you've gotten to like do or have happen to you? I think I know the answer, like I said, but go and give us your answer.
The Stanley Cup win.
Oh, it's gotta be that.
Of course.
100%. It you can't even explain. And the Lightning was so amazing with my entire family. Like everything that within that month and a half, like if somebody flew in, like my nephew flew in and they got him in the family box, and he had, you know, catered to like as if he was a family member of one of the players. And if I needed tickets because my daughter and or my son-in-law and my husband was there, and then my brother came in at one point with his wife, and they always took care of us. And during the boat parade, we had a boat. Like I thought we were gonna have to rent our own boat.
Awesome.
Like, and then yeah, it was, and they tested them. Like when you know how when they were gonna fly in and out, they had to be tested for COVID, and they said no, just tell them to come to the rink and get in there with the players. Like, so my brother was just in heaven. And then after we won, we're down in the locker room and everyone's spraying champagne, and my brother's down there with me, and my sister-in-law and my daughter and her husband. And it's like they just like, come on in, like you are part of this family. It's the Lightning family. And everybody was just like, my brother at one point, I think he was wearing either Stammer's or Kucherov's skates with his stick, shooting pucks with Stammer's dad. Like, what are you doing?
That's a great night.
That's crazy.
I got so many funny pictures of my brother smoking cigars with him, like as if he's one of the players. I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
Jared, what are you doing? They thought, and then he go, I thought he was a social media guy. I go, no, my brother. That would have been you too, though, Nikki. You know it.
Yeah, yeah. You showed me. You shared the images with me. They were something.
I think we need to see these pictures.
I'd be doing the same thing if I was in the Pens locker room after a
Oh,
Stanley
yeah.
Cup
Oh
win.
yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
You would have been right in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One final question we have for you. Do you feel rewarded after seeing the progress from your clients, whether they're in the NHL or just regular kids maybe that you've been teaching?
I honestly feel like I'm a mother, like a mom to a lot of them, and not that it's like, it's just because I get to know them so well, and I'm devastated if anybody ever gets traded. I'm like pretty much in tears because I'm like, oh my god, like my boy, like he's gone, and I still stay in touch with them even if they're on another team, and I just really love all of them. They're such good guys, and they mean a lot to me, and I just feel very rewarded and very proud. And when I'm watching guys play, like say their first NHL game, or they're, getting extra minutes all of a sudden because they've earned it, and I'm like, oh, like it's so exciting.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I do have one final question. It's not written on
an
here,
extra one.
but
Oh, sure, you're gonna spring one on me.
I am. So obviously tomorrow, big game for the Pens. They play your Lightning.
Oh no.
We're gonna be there.
So we'll all three of us are actually gonna be in attendance for that game. So just a really quick question. Obviously, we're gonna.
I don't know.
I mean, we're gonna preview that game in a little bit, but who you got? Like, who you think's gonna win? And yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick the Lightning, Nikki. You know that.
Sorry, don't think it's gonna happen. Think the Pens are gonna ride this momentum. Think they're gonna win.
That would be interesting, eh? Like if I'm gonna say that that's you guys that brought that in, then if they,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, it was all of
Oh,
us.
yeah.
it's all because of you guys.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if you would have came into Pittsburgh for that game. Could have had you here in the studio. So
Oh,
Yeah, we could have heckled each other.
yeah.
I'd love to see that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's about all we have for you. I mean, is there anything else you'd like to say or share?
No, just that I think you guys are doing a great job. I think this is going to be something very exciting for you guys moving forward, and excellent job.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time today. It really
Yep.
means a lot to us.
Yeah. And
Thank you so much.
thank you
for
so much for
joining
your
us.
insight too.
No
we
problem.
all learned a lot.
Yeah.
From
Oh
you.
yeah, this is
Sure.
very interesting to hear
yeah.
all your stories. I love hearing.
And also, I do want to
these
tell
stories.
you two, I have seen her iPad. It's just filled with clips of like all these different
Oh
players.
my god.
She literally she'll be watching a hockey game. She told me the story last year. She'll be watching like Leafs. She'll be watching Lightning games or Red Wings games with like her husband, and she will be like, "Oh, pause it there, rewind. I have to record this really quick." And then
Oh my
she'll get up to the
goodness.
TV with her iPad and be like recording it like right there, like they'll be having it like slow motion, and I think that's just so funny. That story still stick with me
That's
from last year.
awesome.
It's so funny.
See, you would be doing that right there with me, Nikki. You're pretty passionate.
I mean, yeah, like we do like we'll go back and like we'll talk about different things. We'll like break down different plays of like because we're gonna recap like the Pens games from this week. So like we'll be talking about like different plays and stuff.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand where you're coming from, of course.
Yeah, like it's like you can't help yourself because you're so passionate about it yourself, right?
Oh yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
exciting, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. Like it's so rewarding. Yeah, and that's gonna exactly. But I bet you anything, if we were in the same room watching games and I asked you to pause it, rewind it, you'd be getting it just right for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure. You know I do that for you.
I know exactly.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We know you're busy. So yeah, enjoy Brody and all his rowdy friends. And yeah, have a great day. And thanks for coming on.
There's Chris. Say hello
Go
to Chris.
Pens! Thanks for beating Washington.
Let's go!
Yeah!
Yeah!
And they're against Tampa, so it's not not go Pens now.
No, sorry about your luck.
Ah.
Hey, all three of us are gonna be at the game tomorrow.
Good job on Washington.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, thanks.
There's Ted.
Hey.
Hi, Ted.
Ted, you didn't hear him barking in the background trying to get in my room?
I don't think I did.
Okay. That was great, guys. It was great to meet you all. And let me know how everything goes. And if you need anything else,
We'll do.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.
Bye. Anyway, thank you so much to Tracy Tutton for coming on. I think that was awesome.
That was so much
It
fun.
was so much.
Learned so much, and definitely a side that you don't see a lot being talked about in terms of like, the team. It's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for?
Behind the scenes?
Yeah, behind the scenes look at something, a lot of people don't really talk about when it comes to like a team success or anything. So
And it was cool. Like
or player success.
she was like kind of the first to do it too. It seemed like.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the top
Yeah.
ones. I mean, Barb Underhill, who actually is another one of my. She's not as close to my parents as Tracy is, but Barb also friends with my dad. She's kind of like one of the pioneers of figure skating coaches becoming NHL skating coaches, and Tracy, who obviously was close with Barb, and of course the other friend who I actually don't know. As she mentioned, I forget their name already, sorry. But yeah, those three really were like the main pioneers of figure skaters becoming NHL skating coaches. So
That's awesome.
awesome to see. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
and,
you. Really appreciate it.
We should get a skating lesson.
Yeah,
for
we
the
need
three.
one. We could all
have a
use
shift
one.
day skating lesson would
If
be.
that happens, we will vlog that. Don't
Well,
worry.
I asked
Don't
Nick,
worry.
how long would it take Tracy to be like a top skater, and you said a month, right?
Honestly, I'd say like 3 months.
Really?
I feel like you guys could get your skating skills like worked out pretty quickly with Tracy. Because
She's good at her job. She's
Because
really
you guys
good.
already have a basis of like how to skate normally.
I can't
when
skate backwards though. Like that's an issue. for me.
Backwards skating
Yeah.
is difficult. I will tell you that. Like for me, when I started skating, I could hardly do without holding on to the boards, and then probably like a month later, I wouldn't say I was like super good, but I was definitely a lot more confident. Didn't have to hold on to the boards. I was getting more comfortable with crossovers and backwards. But like
I can't do a crossover.
that's fine. Crossovers are also difficult.
Will you teach me?
I'll do my best.
I want Megan to teach
Yeah.
us
How
how
about
to
you
skate.
teach us?
How about I teach you a little bit first, and then we'll call up Tracy.
Okay,
Alright,
sounds
bet.
good. Sounds good.
If you're staying for the summer, maybe we'll.
Fingers
her down here.
crossed. We got other things to do over the summer too. So.
Oh,
Anyway.
yes.
Moving on now to
Big week for the Penguins.
the Penguins.
I'm the leader of the playoff ship, and it's sailing high
Guys.
right now. It's sailing
we
high
are,
right now.
guys. We are 2 points back on the playoff spot right now.
Nick, we might have to get our wallets ready.
Get your money ready. Get your money ready.
Honestly, I don't care because I'll be sitting next to you.
Wait, I want to go too.
Oh, shout out my brother.
Okay, well you're gonna have to pay
My
for your own
twin
ticket.
brother said he might be coming if we make playoffs too. So
Come on, Luke.
Game 3, guys. Are we just inviting everyone? Are we just inviting everyone to Game 3?
I guess.
We have like a
We're
row of
going
10.
broke.
We
We're
have like a
going.
row
I'm
of 10.
not. I'm not going broke. I just make good bets. So like.
We have like a
You
row
had a
of 3.
2% chance 2 weeks ago.
But I talked to Crosby. He told me like
No, you
the boys
didn't.
are gonna.
Technically,
I-
Megan talked to Crosby.
Yeah, technically I did. Did I talk to him about playoffs? No.
I'm
'cause
assistant to the GM. Like I communicate
Hey,
with the
guys.
guys on a daily basis.
Guys, remember, last 2 times I've met Sidney
That's
Crosby.
right. I was thinking
Last 2
about
times?
that.
That or someone I've known has met Sidney Crosby. Great things have happened.
Guys.
My co-host met Sidney Crosby, and we're back in the playoff race.
Megan, how's it feel that like your handshake with Crosby that like, ignited a win streak like this? Like,
I don't know.
Guys, did Megan ignite a win
what
streak?
did you say to him? Like,
I told you everything I said last
You like
week.
Are-
slam him against
you-
the wall and say, "Listen, buddy,
are you hiding
we're
something?
making the playoffs."
Are you hiding
I don't
something?
care.
No, that is. I told you every detail of the story and how I couldn't even tell him our podcast name. Do you think
We
I'm
did.
really slamming him
We told him
Yeah,
his podcast name.
via a sign?
Gino got him to see it.
Gino made sure he saw it.
Yeah.
Gino, shout out to you,
And
buddy.
shout out to Gino. I listened to the Gino song last night. It's a banger.
Yeah, he listened to the Gino song for the first time ever last
The
night.
Gino song?
You've never heard the Gino song?
No. Hang on, I'm texting my mom real quick. She's asking me a question. I'm listening. Just tell me about the
I
Gino
respect
song.
it. No,
Right,
the
okay.
Gino song, like, to be honest, when Tyler first played it last night, I was like, what is this? And then when I heard, like, more into it, I was like, I haven't heard this since, like, 2012.
It's a banger.
It is an absolute banger.
But yeah,
Love the Gino song.
obviously, was it April Fool's? April 1st that the Pens beat the Rangers?
Uh-huh.
We
Yeah.
had a little Instagram war there.
Oh,
did.
yeah. I'm in class, like, not in class, but, like, class is going to start soon. I'm like, this is what happens when everyone has access to the Instagram.
I mean, I absolutely for sure thought our Instagram privileges were going to get provoked. But,
Surprised they're not.
I mean, you guys it's appropriate, so it's fine.
We're
I thought they were funny.
We're
I thought they were funny.
professional. We're professional.
We're professional.
So, like, yeah, but you know, I took a picture of Igor's face and I said, "We'll see you game 3 at home."
Yeah.
And I think right now, you know, Nick, I love the money puck odds.
yeah, 20%.
20%
Give us an
right
update,
now.
Jake. Oh, yeah.
Let's see them.
20%, just-
I gotta pull it up real quick.
Also, I'm really confused about something. Are the Senators officially eliminated from playoff contention?
mean,
Yes, they
yeah.
are.
Yes.
Okay,
'Cause-
so
Because I saw a post about Montreal being eliminated last night, and then Calgary being eliminated. I'm like, Ottawa was in between them. Like, where's their elimination post?
the breakdown for the Penguins in their playoff race, there's 2 spots available right now. The second wild card spot and the third spot in the Metro. And looking, I'd say it's a 5-team race right now for 2 spots.
Mhm.
Philly has a 60% chance. Detroit 45. The Islanders 36. Washington 36. Pittsburgh 20. So we still have the lowest, but it's not about that. It's about who's hot and who's cooking. And this team is cooking right now on all cylinders. And a guy that's really stood out to me, obviously Sid, he's been a dog, but Michael Bunting. We just missed this guy.
Bunting. What are we looking at right now?
We're getting hyped up for the
yeah.
Pittsburgh sports in general is just on a high right now.
Happy opening day. It's a little teaser for later.
Pittsburgh sports is so back. Guys, we're so back. Listen, as a person who's lived here, no offense, Jake, but a person who has supported Pittsburgh sports their entire life, we're so back.
Thank you for backing away from the mic.
You're welcome.
I think your audio levels are fine.
We never left.
You
We?
only
I know. The Penguins.
Okay, shot
we're
down,
always
boy.
in it. We're always in it.
Buddy, you're a Raiders fan. We're talking about the Steelers here.
Okay, the
You're
Steelers.
a
I need to
Yankees
get
fan. We're
more
talking
into
about the
football
Pirates here.
next year.
Yeah, you do.
I know.
Fantasy football. How about that?
Okay, not fantasy football because I don't know enough about football to run a fantasy team.
You don't have to.
Cool. I just need to watch.
You just want to
more
know
football.
what's going on, kind of.
Yeah, like I feel like I paid a little more attention last year.
Yeah.
But I just want to pay more attention because football's fun.
The fact
Like, I
that we're
had-
gonna have
Doesn't
the
your
Penguins
brother like
parade
football?
and-
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does.
We're gonna have the Penguins parade and the Pirates parade in the same year.
Oh my god.
Coming
I
right
can't
through
believe you,
campus.
Nick.
Gosh.
You left the shit like 2 weeks ago. And now you're all in. But I like it though. I like that you're back on it.
Who says I left?
You did. We have a clip of it. It's on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure I posted it for one of my visual storytelling assignments.
That was my twin brother Wick.
Oh yeah.
That was not me.
I
That
know
was
him.
Wick.
I know. Yeah. It's hard sometimes. Like,
I'm
It is
gonna
hard.
I'm gonna pull out the receipts.
That was my twin brother
yeah,
Wick.
get the receipts.
That was
out.
my twin brother Wick. That was not me.
Get the receipts
I'm
out.
putting the receipts in.
That was Wick. That wasn't Nick. That was Wick.
Wait, so I think the
Okay.
question is, we're officially like we're on it. We're going to
Oh yeah.
we're going to every single home game
Yes.
throughout the season. But like, Megan,
Megan,
are you gonna join the party here?
am I co-captain by the way?
Oh yeah,
You're
you're not. I'm not
co-captain.
co-captain.
You're captain. Like that's
Megan,
not
at this
arguable.
point, you're just a passenger. I think.
I am a passenger. Okay.
I
I
go to
have
line,
As
as
more.
much
still
as-
have it.
I have more hope than I did a week ago.
I respect that, but at this point, I don't
I
think
am just
can
not
be-
like fully saying like, oh yes, we're 100% gonna make it. I'm just like, oh, we have a chance. I think we might be able to. Fingers crossed. But so many things have to go right, and by that I mean so many people have to keep losing.
But it has so far.
I know it has, but they
It's
just
been
need
like
to
that for
keep
2
going
weeks.
right.
No one wants it. No one wants the spots.
Guys, it's like okay.
I'm
I
not
wanna
saying
say
it's
this.
not going to
like-
happen. I'm just saying I want it to happen.
It's like betting against Mahomes in the playoffs. Betting against Sid to not make the playoffs is like betting against Mahomes in the playoffs.
So
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me just
Like, everyone's like, oh no, the Mahomes isn't gonna win the Super Bowl, and then he goes on a run. You know, even if the Chiefs aren't looking good. Oh, Sid. Oh, the Penguins aren't gonna make the playoffs. Look at Sid. Sid's not gonna. They're gonna. Rosalie pulling up
I'm pulling
those
up a
seats.
tweet. I'm
From
pulling up a
Haley
tweet.
Hunter.
From Haley Hunter. I read it.
She fine, by the way.
Oh, Nick.
Okay, sorry.
So I
She's
read
a
it.
good poster.
I read it last night. It got me fired up. It was like, I think going into the third period, the energy in this Penguins locker room is now excellent. The guys are loud, shouting words of encouragement to each other and getting each other amped up. It's been like this all night, even before they went up 3-0.
So there's belief
You're
in
telling
that
me a
locker room.
fired up locker room is going to miss the playoffs?
No.
There's belief in that room.
Like, John Tortorella's out there screaming every night at
Oh, yeah.
the media.
Philly,
The
if
Range-
Philly misses, I'm not going to be surprised. I feel like a lot of that blame should be on Tortorella. Because tearing your team down like that is not always the
The
solution.
Flyers are literally, like, going down. The Red Wings are going down.
And another thing
And
to
the
mention.
Penguins
Sorry,
seem to just be
Tracy.
going up and up.
Another thing to
Sorry,
mention.
Tracy.
The Pens have 6 games
You got the
left.
Lightning.
They have 6 games left. 4 of those games are at home.
Yeah.
You know Pittsburgh's gonna show up.
The only 2 away games are, if I remember this off the top of my
Did
head,
you say we have 5 games left?
6.
6. We're in New
The
York.
4 games
we're in,
are,
we're in Long Island.
in Long Island and in Toronto.
Aren't we in
Yes.
Detroit, too?
And then the home games,
Our
no, the home, it's
home
at
games Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, Detroit,
Right.
Nashville, and Boston.
Yes.
Oh, no, not Boston.
Bring them on.
Bring them on.
I'm not scared of anyone. If you want to make the
I-
playoffs, you're gonna have to beat the good team. So might as well just do it
I
right
get
now.
The
very-
only game I could
get very nervous
honestly,
watching
I'm
hockey.
like, oh, if we lose, I won't be upset about is in Toronto.
Yeah, that's a tough game. That's a tough
You're
game.
also-
In Toronto, Matthews chasing history, like, of course
Mhm.
they're going to be fired up. Like, I'm not.
But the boys, I think they lost 7-0 last time in Toronto.
Yeah.
So, like, they're going to
Yeah.
bring a better game. And,
And they brought a better
Gio-
game against Washington last night. 'Cause
Yeah.
the last game they played against them was a 6-0 game.
Like, Tampa Bay, they can
Ned was on the
beat-
verge of a shutout last night until Ovi had to ruin it.
I mean, realistically, if we lose to Tampa Bay and we lose to Boston and Toronto, I'll be like, okay, those are hard teams to beat. Nashville, which I get, like,
Nashville's
yeah, they
also
were.
going to be tough.
Well, but
I
they've
don't
been
think
really
you-
sliding lately.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't think you can be okay with losing all 3 of those games because I don't think you're making the playoffs if you lose all 3
Oh
of those
yeah,
games.
100%.
I mean, yeah, but like.
I feel like
But
we
these,
need to win at least
yes.
4 of
These
these
are the-
last 6.
even if we get
Okay,
in, these are
okay.
the teams that you're going to have to beat to advance.
Yeah, like
I
if we
think 4 out of 6 is fair because Nashville I think we should beat because we're
Okay.
at home. Detroit Islanders absolutely.
I think we
should
need
beat.
to beat Boston. I think that's one of the need to beats
Realistically-
because if
Boston. You want to put Boston as one of those 3 that you want to beat?
okay, let me
Okay, what-
let me say my reason for this.
Yeah, cool.
Because
cool.
if we do make it in, we're either playing Boston or New York. They are neck and neck right now. We don't know who we're gonna play still. Like
We
they're-
beat both those teams this year. We
I
beat
mean,
Boston
yeah, I'm
and
not
New York.
saying that like just we beat them then and we also beat other teams and lost to other teams for earlier in the season. But I feel like now it's more important
Yeah.
because you have who's your team going into the playoffs now. Like when we beat Boston, we had Gensel then, and Gensel was great in that game.
Another thing,
So like I feel like we need to beat Boston to show that like okay, if we do face you in the playoffs, we do have a shot at beating you with this team that we have now.
yeah. And
This is a different team from January.
another thing I want to mention, like the Penguins haven't been the team that's getting blown out by these good teams. Like they're hanging in there with these good teams.
Yeah.
And now
Mm-hmm.
we got Ned getting hot.
Oh, Ned
if
is
you
so
ride,
hot
if you
right
ride
now.
a hot goalie into the playoffs and you're getting saves, and who knows, maybe the power play can just turn a switch or something. A miracle can happen.
Please.
But yeah, we're hanging with these good teams, so why can't we beat them in the playoffs?
Yeah, that's completely true. I mean,
I'm not saying we can. I'm just saying.
I
Yeah.
do want to point out
Right.
a fact that I think I told you. Ned's success right now is really reminding
Yes,
me
you had a
of
great point. Yeah.
Alex Lyon last season with the Panthers.
Oh.
If you don't remember, Lyon got them in the playoffs, and then Bobrovsky came back from struggling/injury and did really well in the playoffs. And I feel like that could be a situation that I could see with the Penguins.
We the 2024
with, like-
version of the Panthers.
with like Ned, taking us into the playoffs, and then when Joey comes back from struggling/injury,
Mm-hmm.
he could could he do like what Bobrovsky did last season? And then also you gotta mention like how the Panthers had like, you know, they had like the one star who absolutely kind of carried them, and Matthew Tkachuk is Sidney Crosby, this year's Matthew Tkachuk in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We
And
gotta get in.
just to mention Ned's
Not
number.
only getting in, but like
Carrying through.
that performance in the
Yes.
playoffs.
And Sid's going to lead by example like he's been doing all season.
Oh, yeah.
But to point out Nedeljkovic's performance, since March 26, 5-0-1, 934 save percentage, 1.97 goals against average.
Amazing. I love him. Resign him, please, Kyle.
That's a needle in the haystack that dude has
Absolutely,
found this offseason.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Great.
Might be his best offseason.
I think that is. Like, I think when we
Yeah.
discuss this at the end of the season in 2 weeks, like, that's going to be a topic.
Like, this is a legitimate discussion now. If we bring back Jari, or if, like we can trade him, or we can
Yeah.
sign Nedeljkovic to an extension here if we really believe in this guy.
Yeah.
Tonight is a really big night in this playoff race because Flyers, Capitals, and Red Wings are all playing. So we need the Sabres to beat the Flyers, Hurricanes to beat the Caps, and Red Wings to beat the Rangers.
That's a lot.
Oh, no. Rangers to beat the Red Wings. Not that way.
I mean,
Rangers to beat the Red Wings.
I have a lot of confidence in the Canes and the Rangers to hold the fort down.
Buffalo.
Just need, Buffalo, to be fair,
They can
has-
they can mess around and score 7 goals on any given night. So
I
like,
wonder,
Tage
can one...
Thompson
Yeah.
can just like, if he wants to, he could go out and score like 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
Can-
He has the skill set.
He did that recently, too.
Yeah, he did that against the Devils.
and I think the Cap.
Hey.
I don't believe in the Capitals. I feel like we ended their season last night.
I hope we did.
Are we just ending team season?
Like, do
Ended the
any of
Devils?
you
We
Ended
ended the
Caps?
Devils
do you
season.
think the Capitals do you believe in them at all after last night?
I mean,
No, Megan.
I mean,
there's
I'll be
definitely got to
honest.
still be some fight there. Because
yeah.
if you
I
look
think-
at that,
Okay.
like, it's the same thing with us. You're right there. You're not going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess we're just not going to make it now. Like, no, you're so close that you're still going to have that belief
Yeah.
because your team has been very good up to this point. You know that they can win, just had an off night, so you need to. I don't think we ended their season. I think there's still probably belief in that Caps locker room. Like there's belief in our room.
Yeah.
There's probably belief in that Islanders locker room and Red Wings locker room.
I mean,
I don't
yeah,
know about the Flyers,
there's
though.
There's definitely belief, but one thing about the Capitals, even minus 38 goal differential. Like this team, I don't think they can play in these tight games. Like I just don't.
They would be the worst team to make the playoffs.
Yes.
I agree.
And you
Like-
see Lindgren. I mean, he struggled last night.
Lindgren did not look as
Like that,
advertised.
he should have
as
saved
lately.
that bunting shot. I mean, that was terrible. But
That was
He
a
let
great
in
shot
some
by
bad
Bunting, though.
goals.
Let's be real here.
yeah, it was great. Gotta give credit to Bunting, but that's a shot in
I'm trying to
a
see.
playoff type atmosphere. You gotta save that.
Yeah,
End of the day, no excuses.
and how big of a game that was, you do gotta like come up clutch.
Yeah, you gotta come up with some saves, and we got outshot by the Capitals.
Looks like I don't know how to say
We
his
got
name
outshot
correctly.
34.
Fedotov.
Fedotov.
Yeah.
Fedotov is
Fedotov.
starting for the Flyers tonight.
I think that's our only other choice because it's a big question mark since Carter Hart left. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're reeling. They're reeling.
And I'm guessing
They are
I don't.
really.
Let's see.
Who's the backup for the Capitals? I'm completely blanking right now.
Darcy Kemper.
Oh, that's right.
The Flyers are 2-5-3 in their last 10 games.
2, 5, and 3.
Yeah, they got 2 wins in their last 10.
Isn't Sean Couturier hurt right now?
He was healthy scratched.
And another.
No. I think I saw something that he's injured.
Oh, is
too.
he injured now?
I believe he is.
Oh, dang.
I'll double check that, but I
That's
think
brutal.
Sean Couturier is injured right now.
Another thing, the tie. If say we tie in points with the teams ahead of us, or if we tie just in general, it comes down to regulation wins.
And guess who was the tiebreaker?
And the Pens have more regulation wins than the Capitals, the Red Wings, the Islanders, and the Flyers.
I
Yeah.
think something else that can't happen the rest of the year. The Penguins cannot get stuck going to overtime or a shootout
Oh, absolutely.
because we get killed in overtime, and shootouts are always hit and miss. Like we
Yeah.
lost to Columbus in a shootout.
Yeah.
Like that-
Yeah.
That should be something we win because Columbus.
No, absolutely.
But
Yeah, you definitely have to, beat the teams. But like going to overtime against the Lightning or teams like Boston, I'm totally fine with that. If you can get a point against those type
I
of
mean
teams,
that's great that we can get a
Yeah.
point. But
you-
like
you need to at this point in the season. But like I'm satisfied with getting a point against like a top team like the Lightning, which
Yeah.
they've been hot, 8-1-1 in their last 10. So
Yeah.
and they're getting hot at the right time. So it's going to be a tough test tomorrow. But you know the
Tracy
boys are going
Tutton
to show
good?
up.
Yeah, the Lightning are right there with the Maple Leafs right now. They could very well jump into that third place in the Atlantic and end up playing Boston or Florida. It's looking like it's going to be Florida in second place, but we'll see how things play out for them. Maple Leafs still have a game in hand, so.
You really think that the Leafs are going to drop to a wild card spot?
I don't know.
Come on now.
All right.
Come on.
Moving on to there's not a lot to get to in the league because, I mean, this whole playoff discussion is basically a league and Penguins discussion. But we did have a crazy night in New York with the Devils.
Matt Rempe.
2 seconds in, there was a line brawl.
Yeah.
Absolutely electric atmosphere, electric game. Poor Mike Rupp missed it because he was in the consistency line.
No,
I saw that.
I saw Jackie Redmond interviewed him, and I don't think I was like fully paying
No,
attention.
Bo missed the line ball, part 2 from 20.
So
Remember, he was in that line ball in 2012 against the Devils.
yeah.
And then
Then
he
there was
missed this
another
one.
fight later.
That was
They quieted down
Will
afterwards. but,
Cooley
like,
and Dawson Mercer, I
yeah,
think.
Dawson Mercer.
But did you see, a guy like John Marino's not fighting a lot, but he went up against Keandre Miller, and then Miller did like the short boy thing when he beat him up, which was pretty cool.
I didn't see that. Oh my god.
And then he made like a legendary Instagram post.
I don't think I
Did you
saw
not see it?
No,
Hold on, let me
pull it up.
Like it was it was literally a picture of him taking down.
How about Sid going at my arch nemesis Igor Shesterkin?
Oh yeah, that was great too. Yeah, Igor and Sid got into it.
He just liked it.
What does it say?
Meet me at the alley with my troops.
He's got Playboy Cardi Shooter.
Oh
as
my
the song.
God.
With Shoot Up by Playboy Cardi.
Oh my
Like-
gosh. That is pretty legendary.
Where's that last picture at?
That's pretty. What are you doing?
Oh.
His mom?
No, I was seeing if it was in PVG. It looked like the yellow seats.
Oh.
No, he wouldn't be wearing a blue jersey there.
No, it's in
It's
AFC.
Arizona. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for this week's edition of Pucks and Deep.
Let's go.
Obviously, maybe not obviously, if
Let's
you
go
don't pay
Bucks.
attention to baseball. It is Pirates opening day. These two are going, braving the cold for baseball.
6-1.
6-1.
Oh my goodness.
Not a
Both of
big
your
deal.
teams are 6-1.
Yeah. It's great.
Okay.
Jake
Great.
runs the MLB standings, by the way.
What do you mean?
Like your teams are running the MLB
Oh yeah, no,
standings.
yeah. It's great. It's great.
So since it's Pirates opening day, and this is still a hockey podcast, we wanted to discuss which Penguins players would make the best baseball player.
Can I go?
Go ahead.
Easiest answer, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, that was my answer.
He's hit a home run in the Allegheny River.
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure that's the easy answer.
But like, yeah.
But
I
since
think
you guys know baseball
yeah.
more, like some more in depth, like other positions, not just like batting out of the park home runs.
Penguins?
I think Eric Carlson is a guy that could just get on base, and I think what he would be great
Yeah.
at is stealing bases. He's so quick on his feet.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm looking at a guy that can steal maybe 40 bases throughout a 162
I mean,
game season.
I don't-
40.
I mean, it's in his name, Michael Bunting.
Ah, that's
I
good.
like that.
I mean,
That's
I
good.
think you gotta go with
Gotcha.
the guy who has bunt in his name. So,
That's
I have to go
good.
Bunting.
You funny looking.
Elite bunter.
That's pretty good.
My dad texted me something like that last night. Let's see.
What did he say? What did Mr. Levisky say?
Where is it?
Find it.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
it says bunting, and he goes, "That was a full swing, not a bunt."
yeah. On a slap shot last night.
That's such a dad joke. Oh my gosh.
We love Mr. Levisky. Shout out to Mr. Levisky. We love
Shout
him.
out.
Shout out
Love you,
Mr.
man.
Levisky. And I have another shout out. It is my grandmother's birthday. Happy birthday, Lita.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday.
Lita.
Yeah.
That's dope. I also want to give another shout out, Andrew McCutcheon. We're in all black for you.
Blackout.
Black.
You asked, you shall receive.
You asked? We're all black. We're all wearing black.
Oh
right?
yeah, you have to.
Like all black.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just so we're in agreement
Wear
with that.
my
All black.
Clemente jersey with the Pirates hat. It's gonna be looking good. So
Gotta
Alright.
stop at Raleigh
I got
House.
I got the Penguins. See? I
Yeah,
got the
still
Penguins.
still running with the theme for the podcast at least, but
Also,
I
this-
like the Pirates.
I don't have a Pirates
the Pirates
toque,
jersey.
so I'm only wearing a Penguins toque, and
That's
it's black. And like once again, what I love about this city,
You can
all
wear
you
any
can wear
merch to any game.
literally because it's all the same color. Because like the famous saying goes, when you play Pittsburgh,
You play the whole city.
Love that saying.
All right, well, you guys got to get going.
We
To
do.
We got a game to go
Places.
watch.
We got a game to watch.
We'll wrap it up here today.
Anyway,
We got a
thank-
playoff push, so.
Anyway, do you guys want me to do the outro too?
I can do it.
Okay.
Well, thanks to CMI for letting us use the space as always. Thank you to Tracy Tutton for coming on, and thank you, Nick, for helping us get that
Thank
set
you.
up.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We really appreciate we love having guests on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks,
Yes.
Tracy.
Thank
Awesome
you.
to see you again.
Thank you, CMI Nick, for helping us out, getting the setup, getting the Zoom set up. Invest in the merch. The link to the merch is always in the Instagram bio.
Yep.
We're gonna be back next week on Saturday. The CMI is being used on Friday, so we need to film on Saturday. So
Yep.
we will be back 4 p.m. next Saturday.
Yep.
Just one last thing. Hop on the ship. We're going to the playoffs. Let's
Guys.
go, Pens.
Pittsburgh sports is so back. The Pirates are 6-1. The Penguins are gonna probably make the playoffs, and the Steelers seem to actually fix the problems from last season. It's a great time to be alive
It's
as a Pittsburgh sports fan. Enjoy the ride. We're back.
That's what I've been
and
saying.
I'm
That's what I've
just
been saying.
I'm just loving this.
Enjoy the ride.
As
Enjoy
a
the
man
ride.
who's been born here, born and raised in this city, love to see it.
6
so happy
games
right
left.
now.
Let's ride. Let's ride.
Also,
Let's go.
Steelers country, let's ride.
if you happen to be going to the game tomorrow, make sure you get there early enough to get your iceberg plushie.
We will.
Free advertising.
We're getting our iceberg plushie.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah.
And we'll also be
Oh,
in the
and
Lightning.
my Yager bobblehead. I get
Oh!
tomorrow.
Jake's getting his Yaga bobblehead
You have to bring it
tomorrow.
next week.
I will. I'll
Wait,
have,
you have to
I'll
bring
have three
your-
of them. I'll have 3 of them.
Well, you have to bring just the one that's going to be yours.
The lore is gonna go crazy with that.
I
so-
feel like-
All right, we'll have our.
Guys, the Penguins haven't lost a game in regulation
You're-
since they
you're-
found the Penguins
there's-
bobbleheads,
okay,
by the way.
There's no way you're telling me the Pens are gonna
It's
lose.
the bobbleheads.
You're gonna lose tomorrow with the bobbleheads in the arena.
No way.
No way.
Some of them, yeah. Okay.
All right.
Guys, we're so back!
Let's go, Pens.
Let's go, Pens! Let's go, Pens!
Let's go, Pens.
Watch the
Anyway.
volume levels.
Okay, how about this?
See you in the playoffs.
There you go.
Alright, see you in the playoffs.
See it.
Shem out.
Maybe see you. I don't
Let's
know.
go, Pens. Yeah. We want playoffs.
They're
Let's
off
go.
the rails. I think Tracy fired them
Let's
up.
go!
We want the cup.
No, Tracy could make me run through a wall right
We
here.
want the cup. We want the cup.
We want the cup, we want the World Series, we want the Super Bowl. It's coming.
All right, thanks for watching, and I
Let's
would like
go.
those things too. Bye.